Hello, I'm Gus Downing, publisher and editor of the D&D Daily. With us today is Bob Oberosler, Group Vice President, Asset Protection for Rite Aid. Bob started his career many years ago at Hecht's Department Stores in Washington, D.C., and has traveled the gambit across the U.S. for his career. He's held senior LP operations roles with May Company, Lowe's, Pathmark, grocery stores, and now Rite Aid drugstores. If there is an executive that's paid the price, Bob's paid it. With moving across country a couple of times and working 7 days a week, building an LP program from scratch at Lowe's back in the 90s. This executive knows what the word sacrifice and risk means. He spent a career taking risk and taking jobs outside of LP at Pathmark, where he managed the supply chain, operations, and special projects. Bob knows what the price is that you have to pay if you want to be a senior leader in this industry. And I'll share one story with you about him from my personal experience a long time ago. When I first met Bob, 30 years ago, one of our first conversations he said to me was, "Hey Gus, what do I have to do? And whatever it takes, I'll do it." And that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps him up to a T. So I'd like to thank him for being here today, and I'd like to ask him, hey Obi, what does it take to be a senior leader in this industry?
Well, first of all, Gus, it's a pleasure being here. Sorry about last year. I had to bomb out at you last minute because of the knee replacement. All good.
Certainly.
Look, you really built me up here. I've been very blessed. I've been very lucky to work for a lot of great companies, a lot of great people, and have a lot of good mentors and just follow their advice. And some of the things I think I heard early on was you have to be a business person. Sometimes we get so locked into the loss prevention thing that we really understand we got to be a business person first. So I said, what does that really mean? Well, understand the business section of the newspaper or now the internet, and understand the company's terminology around business, around the P&L. You really got to understand the P&L. But you got to volunteer for everything. I mean, you got to be first in line. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. It means a lot of hours because, look, there's some really smart people that are your peers. A lot of times they're a lot smarter than I am. But if you're the person there always volunteering for the next project, always sitting and raising your hand and letting people know that you're ready for more and you'll do it, and you have that extra time. You and I have talked about this when we talk about candidates. And I'm kind of giving the inside poop here a little bit about stuff we talk about. Are they really committed to go? Are they really committed to do things they need to do? Now, look, some people have family situations. They can't put themselves
Absolutely.
on a national market.
Right.
But if you can, you got to start thinking about this stuff early on. So many of us have a significant other in our lives. That person has to be on board. They really have to be on board, because if the phone call comes that, hey, there's an opportunity in California and you're sitting in Maryland, do you say, no, my significant other can't?
It's a team sport.
It is a team sport, Gus. So the other is when you kind of get to those places, these are things that people don't maybe think about, that I hope that our young executives are going to be the people that are going to replace us. They start thinking about, okay, I just moved to a new place. I went, I did it. I'm now in a new place. I talk about buying the real estate that you can resell. Every move I made, I looked at a house with not the frame of mind of this is the most wonderful house I've ever seen. Can I resell this puppy fast? Because I know that the next call is going to come. And maybe some executives don't think about that as their kind of careers going up. And you say, what's the price? You and I talked about this when we moved from May Company to Lowe's Home Centers. And I bought at the high in California. I bought that resale house that you could quickly turn. And boy, the California market crushed. And it beat me in the ground. And it was good, 6 figures I lost on that. But I wanted the opportunity at Lowe's. And that's one of the things we say, you pay a price. Sometimes it's going to be getting upside down on a mortgage and getting out of it and measuring all those things. Those are things I don't know if people think about as they kind of move up in the organization. I talk about other things I talk to my people about on paying a price is really understanding this thing called self-development. And we talk about, okay, Loss Prevention Foundation with certification, certainly need that, certainly a powerful tool. Any higher education you can get. But I also talk about the inner dynamics. Are you the expert in your peer level on Excel spreadsheets? Do you even know what a pivot table is? Do you know how to do the pivots? The reason is because you get in these small meetings, and you've got a lot of information to go after. And if you're that person that knows Excel or knows Pivot, you spent that extra time, and you can say, hey, give that to me. I'll work on it overnight, and I'll have something for you, and we'll take a look at it. Guess what? Those people get noticed. All of a sudden, you start seeing that little bit of separation between you and the others. So when we talk about volunteering, all the extra hours you put in to do those volunteer jobs, when we talk about trying to build the little things that are going to separate you from the pack, that takes time, that takes energy, that takes understanding. And that's kind of the commitment I talk about when I talk about, are you really ready to move up, and are you willing to pay the price on moving up?
So the bottom line is, I mean, an executive goes through their career and they've really got to continue to reinvent themselves from a standpoint of education, technology, being aware of what's going on in the business, trying to read those variables going on in the business. And that's merely from, you know, an employer perspective, not even from the personal side. But from an employer perspective, you've got to be learning something every single day in molding yourself.
Gus, that's well said. You and I talk about this a lot. When we talk about these candidates. You know, and one of the things I ask candidates, have you done any research on the company you're interviewing with? Do you know that many people, even though like public companies, they don't read the company's annual statement? I tell people, you're going to go for a job, you're going to go, and it's a public company, it's the greatest gift you can possibly have.
Well, there's executives that work for them and don't read their own annual report.
That's sad.
You know.
That's sad.
Yeah.
But boy, give me a candidate who comes in and says they not only read the 10Ks, they read the 10Qs. Oh, then all of a sudden I'm excited. You've got my attention.
And shouldn't they be reading the competitors as well?
I know I certainly do. I know I got them on my tracker, on my stock tracker, and when our competitors at Walgreens and CVS, they pop up, you better believe I'm reading at least their summary statement of their quarter, because I want to understand what they're doing. But again, that's the separation. So, because when we talk about the company and we talk about things to do, certainly when you're in the company, you want to understand all the buzzwords. Everybody has different terminology. You just don't want to accept it. You want to ask a whole bunch of questions about, well, what does that buzzword really mean? Do I really understand it? And I really get excited when people talk about their company, not the specifics of their company P&L, because you don't want to share that information.
Certainly.
But just the fact that they're in the P&L and they understand the P&L and they understand the impact that they have and how many lines. And I think somebody asked me, you know, kind of where has the industry gone over these years? And I think versus when I first got in, we were kind of a one line on the P&L. Well, two lines, payroll and expense, and then, of course, the shrink. I think this industry has changed in the fact that we're having impact on many lines on the P&L now. And when I can talk to a candidate or I can talk to somebody who thinks they're ready for the next level, the more they can talk about where they impact the P&L, whether it's a hard or a soft, doesn't matter, they understand it. That, again, and it's about separation. There's a lot of smart people in our business now. I mean, I just love the new group that's coming in that, you know, you just see they're so energized, they're so involved with technology, and they're so hungry to figure out, what do I have to do to separate myself? Because I realize I'm in a very competitive environment here. I think the other thing you got to look at is you got to look at whatever organization you're joining. Do they have a history of promoting people? Do they have a history? Because if everybody's logjam, guess where you're going to probably be? Logjam. And look, people make it through the logjam. You know, they spend 20 years and that's fine. If you want to move faster than 20 years, you better make sure you're joining an organization that has a great history of moving people, promoting people, and gives you the opportunity. Those are just some of the things I give some of my execs. I've been very blessed to have some very talented people work for me, as you know. And all my job was make sure I don't fall off the horse.
There you go. Well, and you've developed so many people in your career.
I've been very blessed with that.
And you've been one of the leaders in this industry of leading diversity in our field. And I just want to call that out.
Thank you, Gus.
That bottom line.
When you talk about the pride you have in this job, it is the people you've helped develop. And God's blessed me with some talent, and 15 of those people I've had an opportunity to work with and manage to become vice presidents to hire. Very proud of that. I'm also proud of the diversity that I've built in 4 organizations now, and how powerful that is. And there's, you know, we can get another 20 minutes to talk about that, but how important it is for an organization and how important it is to delivering results and the expectations that you need to deliver.
Well,
what this
and
pays
there's
you.
there's really two things I want to mention. A is that moving up, moving over, changing companies, learning something new, there's a risk to it. There's a huge risk to it. And fear of that risk, fear of failure, is what keeps us from making those moves. That's something I don't think a lot of people talk about enough, deal with, or address at even some of the trade shows, is the fear factor. In coming face to face with it, overcoming it, and fighting it.
No question. And you got failure is just learning. If you just kind of take that and say, okay, that was a failure. That didn't work.
A lot of mistakes. So
I'm here. Made a lot.
Me too.
Made a bunch of them.
Me too.
But just learned and got motivated by them. That was.
Well, in the last thing I wanted to bring up was the family. A lot of folks make decisions not to move forward, not to relocate because of the family. And God bless them all, and I certainly respect that. But you've really got to have the family's buy-in to your career development, not just from 6 months from now or 3 months from now, or when you get your evaluation and don't get the raise, or when somebody gets promoted over top of you. You've really got to have your family's buy-in, your spouse's buy-in to what are you willing to do, what are they willing to do, and how are they willing to risk, and also move for you. I mean, that's a huge thing that you've got to work on, not just one day, not just one conversation or 1 week, but your whole career.
That is excellent advice. And sometimes we don't do that until that moment we get the call and all of a sudden. But you really do have to think that thing through with your partner. And does your partner have a job that's transferable? Those types of things. One last thing, and I see the card up, Gus, is you mentioned something I want to say. When you talk about risk, sometimes a risky move might be making a lateral to get around that log jam. Some of it might even be a half a step back, feels like on a resume. Everybody gets all tied up on a resume. But sometimes that's the move you need to make. So you have to analyze it, have to have your family with you. And I'm just excited about what we'll see over the next couple of years here with these young up-and-comers.
Well, there you go.
Thanks for this opportunity, Gus. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming today and giving us your time.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this episode of LPNN. We want to thank Bob for coming out, and thank you for watching. And as we like to say, let's keep them all safe out there.